On October 13th, the U.S. Navy is celebrating its 245th birthday. So what better way to celebrate than making Navy bean soup? So, shift colors, underway, turn 2. Hello everyone, I'm Mike the Stewburner and welcome to my channel. It's the Navy birthday. We're going to do something special, and what better thing to do than to do Navy bean soup, one of my favorites. Soups. I love to do soups. Soups, sauces, and gravies, anything in the coppers. I was the guy. I was the copper king on board ship when I was a cook. And I just loved making anything in the copper. What's a copper? Copper is this big, gigantic pot. We call them steam jacketed kettles. They're these huge pots that get these jacketed outsides where steam would surround the actual bottom of the pot and heat the pots up on board ship. And you use the big paddles to get in there and stir up your food. Big whisks. I just love the coppers, but the copper was my kingdom. And soups. I mean, soups. If you're getting started in cooking and you're trying to build up your confidence, I think one of the best things to cook or try to cook are soups, because soups are forgiving. You have full control over what you're doing with soups, and everything from the ingredients that go in, the seasonings. I mean, you control that. There's so many times I'll make a soup just by what's sitting in my fridge. What do I have left over? I'll look in the fridge and I'll have a little bit of meat. I'll have a little leftover veggies, or I may have a small amount of leftover frozen vegetables in the freezer. And I'm thinking right away, soup. I'm going to make some sort of soup with it. So the only thing that's really, that you'll stumble across if you're having an issue with soup, and that would be burning it. I mean, everything else you control. You control the taste, you control what goes in the soup. There are soup recipes out there. If you want to follow them to the T, they'll work fabulous for you. But if you just want to wing it and learn to cook and experiment, soups are it. So today we're going to make bean soup. So what I have here is I have a pound of Navy beans, not Army beans, Navy beans, not Marine beans, Navy beans. And I don't even think Air Force know what beans are. So anyways, I got a pound of beans that I've been soaking overnight. First thing we're going to do with this, once I get all my prep done, is that we're going to cook this for about 5 minutes, rinse off the water or drain off the water, put fresh water in, add our other ingredients that we're going to prep, and just get it on the stove and simmering along. So 1 pound of Navy beans soaked overnight. I've got 3 nice pieces of hocks here that I got from my local store, and they're smoked hocks. I have 1 medium onion, 1 large stalk of celery. I've got 2 carrots. I have some kosher salt over here, some kosher sea salt. I have a little bit of thyme, and also have some peppercorns here for fresh cracking pepper. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of prep first. Then we're going to get into doing our first cook on our beans, draining them off. Then we'll get into the final cook where we put everything in the pot, set it, and forget it. We're not really going to forget it because we're going to set a timer, but I love saying it, set it and forget it. Alright, I'll be right back. Alright, so we got my onion here, and I'm just going to do a rough chop on this. Everything I'm just going to do a really rough chop on, and it's all going to go in the pot at the same time. Some people like to saute their vegetables for their bean soup. I don't. That's just adding fat in my opinion. And I like my veggies to break down a bit as well. So rough chop. All right, so we're gonna get to our first cook. And like I said before, we're just gonna take our beans, get them into the pot. We're gonna cover this and cook this for 5 minutes on our pre-cook, on our induction heater here. And after this is cooked for 5 minutes, we're gonna rinse it off, drain it off actually, and then we're gonna put fresh water in here, all the other ingredients that we already pre-prepped, and then we'll get it simmering away. We're at the end of the 5 minutes on our preliminary cook, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn off my induction heater, remove the lid, and I'm going to drain these beans off. I'm going to get them back into the pan with some fresh water, the remaining ingredients that we need to put into our bean soup, and then we're going to set it and forget it. Hopefully you don't make a mess like I just did. Water everywhere. There we go. Back over here. I've got 8 cups of water. And the important thing to remember when making bean soup is that you're going to be checking this every so often, and make sure you have at least 1 inch to 2 inches of water over your beans when you're cooking them. So we're going to turn this back on. And I'm going to set this on high. We're going to bring it up to a boil. I'm going to drop it down to a simmer once I hit that mark. And 480. Now we're going to add our other ingredients. So I've got about a teaspoon of pepper I'm putting in here. I have a teaspoon of thyme, and what I like to do with my dry herbs, I always like to crush them out. That releases any of the oils that are still in there. And I've got about a tablespoon of salt. I'm not going heavy on the salt because the smoked pork hocks has some salt in them. And what I'll do later on in the cooking process, I'm going to do a lot of tasting and doing my adjustments on my salt and pepper later on down the road. So I've got my hocks here. Let's move this over. Take my hocks, go right into the pan. I'll cut up vegetables. So now we have all of our ingredients in our soup. And we've got nice coverage on the beans. We've got at least almost 2 inches of water over our beans. And now we've got this on high. I'll let it go. Once it hits a boil, I'll go ahead and drop this down to a simmer. And we'll probably simmer this for at least an hour and a half, more likely 2 to 2.5 hours total, or until the beans are nice and tender. So now I'm going to put the lid back on. And we're going to set it and forget it. So we're back. It's been about 2 hours and it's really smelling awesome in here. If you could smell what we're smelling right now, you'd be in Navy bean soup land. So right now what I'm going to do is give it a little taste, see if I need to adjust any more seasoning, i.e. salt and pepper. And I need to do an adjustment. I'll do it now. I'm also going to thicken it up a little bit, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. Wow, that means nothing. No salt, no pepper, That is tasting good. So what I'm going to do first though is remove the hocks and also remove the meat from the hocks. I'm going to put that meat right back in the bean soup. So these are just falling apart. Look at this. These are just falling apart. Tender. All that good meat is going right back into this soup. And I'll probably add it after I thicken up the soup. So I'm going to pull these hocks out. And then we're going to go do some thickening. So I'll show you what I do for a thickener first. So I'm going to move this over here. I don't need the salt and pepper. So what I have here is about 5 tablespoons of flour. And I'm just going to add some nice cold water. So we're going to make a slurry. And that's what we're going to use to thicken our soup. Some people don't thicken their bean soup. I kind of like it in between. I don't like it too thin, but I don't like it too thick either. So we're going to make a little slurry. And I have this brought back up to just over simmer. Looking good, almost there. Getting rid of all the lumps. And I think we got, it's almost the thickness of pancake batter is what I'm looking for. Maybe go just a bit thinner, and we should be right about where we need to be. Alrighty, so that right there. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and thicken our soup. I got this just up over simmer, and it's not going to really need much to thicken this up. I'm just adding my slurry, giving it a stir. Some decent thickness right there. And go a little bit more with it. And that's probably it. That's all I'm going to do as far as thickener. And we're going to let that cook for a few moments. We don't want that tasting pasty. And looking good. In the meantime, what I'm going to do is start taking some of our smoked hocks that are just falling apart, and I'm going to put this in the soup. I'm going to grab a little fork. And this is just falling apart beautifully. So while I'm doing this, to this episode shout out, since it's the Navy birthday, is to all those that have served in our great Navy, past and present. Shout out to all you Navy swabbies out there. Happy birthday, Navy. And one last thing, go Navy, beat Army. So we're going to ladle some of this great soup in here. Wow, nice chunks of smoked pork hocks. And we're gonna lop off a piece of bread. Put that right there like that. And the last thing to do is to try this soup out. See if it's worthy of a Navy birthday. It smells like it's worthy of the Navy birthday. Lori, what do you think? Is it worthy of the Navy birthday?
I think so.
You think so? All right, here we go. Going in. Happy birthday, Navy. 245 years and going strong. Wow, that's really good. So, if you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, most importantly, share. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.